welcome to Arts Express. This is Prairie Miller, and on the show, Pacifica host Garland Nixon on what's up lately with the corporate media and what it has to do with a stopped clock being right twice a day.
Good evening. My name's Garland Nixon. I always enjoy people contacting me. And you know what? It's like I say on the show, if you agree with me, you get 1 minute. If you disagree with 2 minutes, you get 2. I think it is important to have a robust conversation about things. And I'm always happy when people call to disagree with me because I put it like this. There's an old saying in some Eastern European countries that, you know, I'm slow to get on my horse, but once I get on it, I ride fast, right? Meaning I'm slow to come to a conclusion about things, but once I come to a conclusion, I have reviewed the information enough that I'm confident and I'm willing to defend it. But if somebody brings new information, I'm willing to listen to that also. I believe in consistency. I believe the safest bet is always consistency. If the sun comes up every morning, I'm going to bet that it's going to come up the next morning. And as the infamous tuna, Bill Parcells, the former coach of the Giants and the Jets, once said, "You are what your record says you are." Right. And if I want to judge people, or in this instance, as you know, when I'm often judging the U.S. empire, I do not refer to the U.S. as a nation. You ain't got 850 bases if you're a nation. You're not overthrowing governments all over the country, all over the world, and occupying and putting in bases if you're a nation. You do that if you're an empire. The U.S. is an empire, and the empire is receding. And as the book, there's a great book called How to Hide an Empire, talks about, the most important thing for the U.S. empire is to hide from the people of the United States that it is an empire. Because I always say this, there's two kind of people. There's people that understand foreign policy, U.S. foreign policy, and there's people that support it, because you can't do both. If you understand U.S. foreign policy, it is hard. It is difficult. You got to be a pretty evil person if you really understand U.S. foreign policy to support it. Now, if you support it, I found it like when people don't support U.S. foreign policy, most of the time when I try to have a discussion with them, they barely have a superficial understanding of it. They take for granted that the U.S., no matter how many times the U.S. has lied to them, this time they're telling the truth. Did they lie about everything else? Yeah, but this time I swear I believe them. This time they're telling the truth. Well, you know what? You know what I believe about the U.S. foreign policy? They have a Spanish saying, and that's tira la piedra y esconde la mano. You know what that means? That means you throw the rock, you hide your hand. You know, that means you do the dirty deed and you pretend that you didn't do the dirty deed. That's U.S. foreign policy. Let's start off with Haiti. I decided, I may just be a liar, a criminal, a person who's putting up propaganda, whatever, right? So don't believe me. I have an article here that I'd like to read from you. Now, my position on Haiti is clear. Whatever happens in Haiti, the United States should have no part of it, should have no interest in it. If, in fact, the United States has one fingernail involved in the outcome of what happens in Haiti, in the input of it, then it's crooked. If the U.S. has anything to do with anything that happens in Haiti, it's crooked. I don't know if you noticed, but the United States administration is in the midst of committing a genocide right now. How can someone believe that the U.S. government, at the same time that they're committing a genocide against the Palestinians, would, on the other hand, be looking out for the best interest of Haitians? How naive, dare I say stupid, would you have to be? Can you imagine seeing some guy, what are you doing over there? Oh, I'm slicing the throats of women and children, killing people, killing everybody in the community. What are you going to do then? Well, I think I'm going to start a soup kitchen to help the homeless. When does that happen? Would you believe it? I'll put it like this. If the mass murderer then started a soup kitchen, I ain't eating none of that soup because it's probably got cyanide in it. Now, they're not going to cut throats. They figured a better way. They'll poison people with poisonous soup. But yet we have people in this country who will go to the streets. Oh, my God, the genocide is horrible in Gaza. It's terrible. And then the same people in the New York Times, in the Washington Post, MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, Newsmax, you name all of them, the same people that are supporting that genocide will say to them, the U.S. government is going to help Haiti. And they'll be like, yeah, the U.S. government's going to help Haiti. Oh, wait a minute. I got to go back to the street to protest against the genocide that the Biden administration is doing this very second I got to protest them. They're involved in slaughtering tens of thousands of men, women, children mercilessly, starving them to death, a bunch of sociopaths. But I really do think when it comes to Haiti that they're going to try to help them out. How stupid and naive do you have? I'm calling it like it is. How stupid and naive do you have to be to think that a genocidal monster, when someone shows you who they are, believe them? Once you see that the Biden administration, that the U.S. empire is a genocidal monster, from then on, you got to pretty much figure out that they're genocidal monsters. No, they're not going to backtrack. They're not going to be like, we're going to commit genocide over here and kill hundreds of thousands of people. What about over there? Well, I think in this instance over here, we'll just do the right thing. No. It horrifies me that there are people that believe that. But here's what I'm going to do. Even a liar tell the truth every now and then, right? Even a blind squirrel occasionally finds a nut. Even let me know if I'm going too far with this. Even a stopped watch is right twice a day, right? I'm going to read an article from the New York Times from 2022 about Haiti, right? So if you're in Haiti, do you really think the U.S. government is there to help you out, to do the right thing? Let me read this article. I don't do this much, but I think it's important because the New York Times might have been onto something here. New York Times, and the date this article was written was May 20th, 2022. Updated May 26th, 2022. So this is New York Times. I told you, I may not like New York Times, but every now and then they get something right. Listen to this. You ready? For those who somehow think that the United States is going to try to help Haiti, put them together, perhaps bring them joy and peace and comfort. Here we go. New York Times, May 26, 2022. In the drowsy hours of a December afternoon, 8 American Marines strolled into the headquarters of Haiti's National Bank and walked out with $500,000 in gold packed in wooden boxes. They drove the loot by wagon to the shore, past American soldiers in civilian clothes who kept watch along the route. Once at the water, they loaded the boxes and sped to an awaiting gunboat. The gold was in the vault of a Wall Street bank within days. Now, I want you to think about this. American soldiers went into Haiti's bank and took $500,000 in gold and took it back to a Wall Street bank. The operation took place in 1914. How much was $500,000 worth in 1914? It's probably worth about $500 million today. Probably more like $500 billion today. Okay. The operation took place in 1914, a precursor to the full-scale invasion of Haiti. American forces took over the country the following summer and ruled it with brute force for 19 years, one of the longest military occupations in American history. Even after the soldiers left in 1934, Haiti remained under the control of American financial officers who pulled the country's purse strings for another 13 years. Invading Haiti was necessary, the United States said. Let me stop this, just like they're saying it now. Okay, back to the story. The country was so poor and unstable, the explanation went, that if the United States didn't take over, some other power would. In America's backyard, no less. Secretary of State Robert Lansing, who portrayed the occupation as a civilizing mission to end the anarchy, savagery, and oppression in Haiti, convinced that Haiti, as he once wrote, listen to this, convinced that, as he once wrote, the African race are devoid of any capacity for political organization. Now, I just want you to say what they do. They said these black folks can't look out for themselves. But what did they actually do? They went straight to their vaults and stole their gold. Yeah, these African people can't look out for all this gold. Maybe if we took it back to Wall Street and stuck it in a Wall Street bank, it'd be far better. But let me continue. But decades of diplomatic correspondence, financial reports, and archival records reviewed by the New York Times show that behind the public explanations, another hand was hard at work as well, pushing the United States to step in and seize control of Haiti for the wealth it promised. Wall Street, and especially the bank that later became Citigroup. Now think about this. The United States government invaded a country with the military and occupied the country for 19 years. At the behest of Wall Street banks. I'm going to ask you something. Do you think that goes on today? Do you think maybe, quite possibly, some of the military actions that the U.S. takes, as they say to you, oh, we've got to do this for democracy and we got to save the people. We're standing up against evil autocracy and dictators. Do you think they might possibly be lying to you like they were then? And that possibly it's the Wall Street banks pushing them to do that? Or, nah, Garland's just a crazy propaganda. That's silly. Let me continue. Under heavy pressure from the National City Bank, Citigroup's predecessor, the Americans elbowed the French aside and became the dominant power in Haiti for decades to come. The United States dissolved Haiti's parliament at gunpoint, killed thousands of people, it's called genocide, controlled its finances for more than 30 years, shipped a big portion of its earnings to bankers in New York, and left behind a country so poor that the farmers who helped generate the profits often lived on a diet close to starvation level. The United States went into Haiti, stole their gold, occupied them, and all the money that was made by the Haitians, they stole it all and it went back to the Wall Street bankers. Do you know now why the Wall Street bankers told them to invade Haiti? It was all about the moolah. I helped make Haiti and Cuba a decent place for the National City Bank boys to collect revenues. Major General Smedley Butler, a leader of the American force in Haiti, wrote in 1935, describing himself as a racketeer for capitalism. In fact, Smedley Butler wrote a book called War is a Racket, and he talked about all that, how the U.S. government used the Marines, he was a big Marine Corps general, used the Marines to go around to overthrow countries and steal their stuff. War is a racket. Look it up, Smedley Butler. Now I want you to understand something. It's not that it was a racket back then. It is a racket right now. You're being lied to. Shall I continue? For more than a country, Haiti has been labeled a disaster, a basket case, a place so destitute, indebted, lacking, and lawless that it needs constant savings. The assassination of the president in his bedroom, the kidnappings in the capital, the swells of Haitian migrants heading to the United States, they all point to a country in a seemingly endless vortex of despair that the world great powers, whether with troops or mountains of aid, have not managed to fix. But the documents and financial records reviewed by the Times in Haiti, the United States, and France show how much of Haiti's misery has been brought by the outside world and how often intervention has been portrayed as a helping hand. Let me explain something. The intervention that they're trying to do in Haiti right now, it's no different. They're trying to lie you into believing the same. See, this is what they did in the 1930s. This is what they did over and over to Haiti. They lied to the American people, and they said to the American people, we got to go in and help the people of Haiti. And you know what they did? They went in and they stole their gold, and they occupied them, and they robbed them blind. And let me explain something to you. The United States is occupying a third of Syria right now, and that third just happens to have the oil and the wheat. And the United States is stealing it. They're lying to you about Syria. What, you think Afghanistan, they were there to stop terrorism? They left, billions and billions of dollars worth of military hardware in Afghanistan when they left. You think they forgot it was there? They left it there on purpose so they could build and sell more. And you think they're in Ukraine because Putin's a dictator and they're standing for democracy? You're a fool if you believe all that stuff. It's all a fraud. It's all a scam. Every single time. I don't care if it's Haiti, if it's Iraq, if it's Libya, if it's Ukraine, if it's Taiwan. I don't care where it is. It's a lie. It's a scam. These people are thieves and liars, and you need to wake up. Let me continue. By the time U.S. forces arrived in the summer of 1915, Haiti had already spent more than half a century handing over big slices of its meager earnings to France. Though the Haitians had overthrown their French enslavers, beaten Napoleon's forces, and declared their independence in 1804, French warships sailed back to Haiti decades later, demanding staggering amounts of cash under threat of war. Haiti became the first and only country where the descendants of enslaved people paid the families of the former masters for generations, hampering its ability to build a nation almost since birth. After that came French bankers dangling loans before a country that had been depleted by decades of paying France. They took so much in commissions, interest, and fees that in some years, their French shareholders' profits were bigger than the Haitian government's public works budget for the entire country. Next were the Americans. at times portraying their intervention as a way of defending Haitian sovereignty, like they are now. And just as it had for generations of Parisian bankers, Haiti proved profitable for Wall Street. In its filings to the Senate's Financing Committee in 1932, National City Bank said it had secured one of its largest margins during the 1920s from a debt it controlled in Haiti. They robbed Haiti. This Wall Street bank, you're told that Haiti is a poor country, and a Wall Street bank said the most money we made was out of Haiti. If Haiti was poor, they wouldn't be there. Haiti is loaded with minerals, gas, gold mines. It is a gold mine. They're robbing the people of Haiti, and now they're going to tell you they need to do an intervention in Haiti. They're lying. They're lying about every one of them. Haiti, Libya, Iraq, Syria, Ukraine, Taiwan, Cuba, Venezuela. Every one of them you're being lied to. And you need to wake up before you end up flattened in a nuclear war from these lunatic genocidal monsters.
And now in the Arts Express Poetry Corner, the late eminent Amiri Baraka with Against Bourgeois Art, originally broadcast on the radio in Cologne, Germany, back in 1982.
This is a poem that I usually read at poetry festivals. It's called Against Bourgeois Art. War on the horizon. A ship with bloody sail. Andy Young slips on his Chamberlain appeasement get-up he got from years listening to the CP hype Martin Luther King. Is there somebody here to record this? The U.S. being thrown out the front door, the Russian bear charging through the back door. My man suddenly clearly an apologist for new style colonialism, telling us we can't fight in the U.S. Those centuries of our dead are buried here. Oceans of our blood have fertilized a black nation in the South. Is there someone here to get this down? Can I get a, like they say, witness? An eye that can see through this here? In Jimmy Carter's Snake Oil show, there is a room nobody talks about. Steel door, fumes seep underneath. Inside, blood and hair on the floor, bones stacked in the corner. Photos of Goering and Goebbels and Joe McCarthy and Nixon in the nude, trying to put helmets on their pecker woods. Will somebody put this stuff out? You walk through a museum, all the colors of the spectrum, right there, but not one image, except of checks passing. Pollock dollar signs, de Kooning fortunes, Larry Rivers pots at the end of the rainbow. No people, no love, no heart and soul insides flowing out, no fighting in the street, no fires rip the sky, no children screaming death, no police, no state, except it is the state, bull on the wall. No people struggle, just colors thrown by baby snoops, down and leaving unintellectual. No record of this place, as wild a mother joint as America is. Somebody should get down. Otherwise, no one will believe it. Get it down. Get it on the record. Get the hate, the horror, the lies, the Rockefeller monsters eating corpses. Hey, bro, say hey, what it is, dude. Hey, toot, do it is ya? Wow, loud, doody-roo, baby. Carrying a radio on his shoulder. Eating corpses, coal mines, garment center, assembly lines. Hot steaming steel poured through space. Not any of life is there. Hey, poet, you artist, He turns in the shadows, sucking a marble, dribbling Andy Warhol's lost nut. He is an artist. He is a poet, a po9 too. His work is about everything. His work is about the universe. Her work is about the universe. Her work is about stars belching. Her work is about gray hair, lost in the desert, peeped in a teeny voice. No babies, no screams, no red life, no future. Death peeped in a teeny voice. Stupidity dripped in a sultry voice. Bourgeois poets yodel nonsense about boring absence. They think up funny ways for letters to sit on the page. Concrete bull, already dumb. They are safe as old toilet paper. Revolution sweeps the world. Bourgeois artists stare at crumbs of dust in the light. People change reality. But these dull imitation poets talk to us of fragmented nothingness. Like two-cell creatures trying to bebop. The world is heavier than they know. They do not know. They fight knowledge with abstraction and think they cool because they talk to themselves. They are like vultures pecking on an open grave. They uphold dying capitalism and give themselves airs. They think they is profound and complex. But the people think it's as profound and complex as monks. Now, meditate on that.
And next up on Arts Express.
In a new world.
I will work hard.
And a new kind of struggle.
Go back to work. Get out of here.
I'm Sam Shapiro. I'm actually here with the Janitors Union. May I come in for a sec? 17 years ago, that cleaner earned $850 plus health plus sick pay. Los Angeles, 1999. You don't have a union deal? You get $575 plus nothing.
You didn't think we'd find out about your little meeting? No union, right? Right?
When the privileged make the rules.
Can I ask you something? What do you risk?
The workers make the minimum.
Sometimes I think, what is going to happen with me?
But a courageous few.
It is our right to organize.
Can make a difference.
We're gonna crash the party.
From acclaimed director Ken Loach.
I salute your courage, okay? Because it takes a lot of it. We want bread, but we want roses too.
And those were scenes from Bread and Roses, director Ken Loach's political film classic, portraying the based on a true story working-class uprising of the LA janitors and starring Adrien Brody. But what is little known is that No Laughing Matter funny man George Lopez starred in the film as well, and he's a guest on the show, sharing how those memories have shaped his life and his work, and leading up to his current role in the socially conscious sitcom Lopez vs. Lopez, and joined by cast members Salinas Leiva and Al Madrigal, who plays a homeless worker for Lopez living in the back of his moving truck, and a sitcom now in season 2, in which Lopez started out as broke, homeless himself, and living in his car. Lopez also shares thoughts about the fate of the missing and presumed dead exploited Latino immigrant workers from that tragic Baltimore bridge. First, a little from the politically fueled stand-up of George Lopez, then our cast conversation.
There's a thing going on here with the waves right now. That's my politics. The way they oh. He got to tell you the way it is right now. People who have served this country, Latino veterans, have been deported from the United States of America. That cannot happen. That's bullshit. Anybody that's willing to die for this country should be able to live in this country. You hear what I'm saying? You hear what I'm saying? If you take care of people's kids and you spend more time with their kids than with your own, you should be allowed to live in this country. You want to talk about a pathway to citizenship? We already have it. It's called the path. If you're born here, you stay here. The path. The pathway to citizenship. What about cesarean section? También, los dos. We're not those people, you know. Hardworking, don't demonize us. Listen, ICE and all that bull, Homeland Security. Listen, if they want to do all that bullshit, if they want to deport people, don't. Hey, I'm on your side. Relax. It's going to me. I wrote it. I know what's coming. Don't go to the works. Don't go to the schools. Don't go to the jobs. All right? Let the people and the families decide. Let the Latinos decide who gets deported. Because we all have relatives that we like. And some that you're like, hey, 4 o'clock in the morning, Tia, wake up. They want you. Who? Mexico. What? Mexico wants me? Yeah, come on. And you're, Tio, también, let's go. They want you. El Salvador. El Salvador, come on, let's go. Tia, you don't need a bra. Go like that. You know? Oh, flagañas. Who? Now, you know, the police, they gotta be smarter to be Latino, you know. Before, we could just pretend not to speak English. Now, because of ICE, you get pulled over, they don't ask you for driver's license registration, they get to it. Do you speak English? You're like, oh, yeah. Under your breath. Yes. I can stay? Órale, I can stay? Oh my God, I mean. That used to be the go-to. Back in the day, you could pretend not to speak English, the cop will pull you over. You want to get out of the car, pero no entiendo. Okay, go. I don't know. I'll tell you, I don't know what they're saying. We used to pretend to not speak English. They would let us go. Now they hit you with a palo, that nightstick. That'll get the English out. Get out of the car, pero no entiendo. Oh, you want me to get out of the car? Hijo de la chingada, dude, I got it. That's gonna leave a chipotle out.
Hello. Yes. Hey, there you are.
Hi.
We're here.
Hi.
Hi, we're talking about how much we love radio.
Oh, okay. Is this George?
This is George right here. This voice.
Oh, hello. Welcome to our show.
Lovely hair. Thank you.
Yes, hello.
Hi. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show.
Yes. Thank you for having us.
Okay. George, I wanted to ask you, what can you say about your trajectory as an actor from your start early on in Ken Loach's Bread and Roses, and what that meant to you about the real-life labor struggles of unpaid LA janitors, to this sitcom in which you start out in the series broke, homeless, and living in your car?
Right. Yeah, you know, Ken Loach put a light on the abuses that would happen and the extortion that would go on. And, you know, I've said so much, but the fact that most people can leave their office and the next morning it's immaculate. The floor has been mopped, the carpets have been cleaned, the trash has been thrown out, and no one ever gives thought to who these people are, what they have to do to get to their jobs. I would say that not only do we work longer and we start earlier than anybody else. So my whole identity has been in respecting the people who provide for this country from the ground up. So I'm honored to be able to have a character that runs a moving company that isn't a big success yet. Yet, as I feel the show goes, I think we can become a bigger company and hire different people and be an example.
Okay. Now, George and anyone else who wants to chime in, what can you say about this refreshing to see socially conscious sitcom and in the upcoming season 2 as the creator and executive producer of the show?
Yes, thank you. I would say that, it's strike shortened because everybody had that breakdown, and we came back, and everything sitcom, although there's not very many sitcoms on TV, are doing 10 episodes. So we will complete 10 episodes next week, and these will be 10 incredible episodes that will air back to back for a month. And I would say that I wouldn't do anything different on any of them. And I'm honored for a show that hasn't really been on that long, that we could get to a point where it's socially conscious and funny and relatable, and it's somebody that you've watched before, you feel comfortable with. And if this was going to be my next foray into the sitcom, I'm very happy that Lopez versus Lopez is the show.
And anyone else?
No, I think you said. I don't have anything to add to that.
I think you said it. I mean, this is it's a great show. Yeah, it's
What does Christian Madrigal think?
Okay.
I know this is a syndicated show, but I'm from up in the Bay Area, and this is like just a dream come true for me to, I hope that also people can watch the show and see that jobs like this exist. You want young Latinos and just young people that don't come from these Hollywood families to see that you can be a character on TV. I grew up watching all of the great sitcoms and being such a fan of television, and then being a fan of George's, and the fact that we get to work together every day is just really a dream come true. I really love what we do, but this show in particular has such a great group of people working in front of the camera, behind the camera, that we're all very, very lucky to be part of this.
And in terms of the related discrimination that Latinos face in the workplace, as in the sitcom, what are your thoughts about what just went down at the Baltimore Bridge collapse, which Mexican President AMLO denounced as sacrificing the lives of injured, missing, and presumed dead migrant workers who were forced to work on the bridge overnight?
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Wow, that's a heavy. I think that in tragedy there might be some.
Look, there's a labor force that this country needs. There is, and this economy really depends on the undocumented workers. It relies on them. So it's okay. So we cannot take the work that undocumented workers do for granted, whether it's in fields, wherever they are. Construction sites, you'll see them. Like, you have people working tirelessly to provide for their families, and
we say that in the tragedy that this is, it will bring attention to something that has been in the dark for tens of decades. So maybe this will be the example that people need to see, to know that you just can't have people working 24 hours a day in conditions that aren't favorable to them.
And we really do go out to the families, and it's just a really unfortunate, very tragic.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you. Great job.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good job. Great.
This is John Leguizamo, and I want to give a shout out to everybody. Get political. Get your political on. This is John Leguizamo.
And coming up next on the show...
Hi, this is Jack Shalom. For some time, I've been walking it around with this uneasy feeling that I couldn't quite name. And everything seems to be going to hell in a handbasket. Well, that's not new, I guess. But everything around me seems to be dehumanized as possible. Actors replaced by AI, schools celebrating computer testing, telemedicine where a doctor prescribes without even seeing you in person. The hottest movies are Iron Man and the X-Men mutants as superheroes. Music and dance like techno and trance, frankly, acknowledging and celebrating a robotic transformation. And, of course, the only thing we're any good at anymore in America is killing humans. Bullets and bombs raining down from robot drones on nameless people. Do you see what I'm after here? What we call progress in the 21st century is not only the killing off of humans, but killing off that quality we call humanity. I can't be the only one thinking and feeling this way, right? What is going on? Well, it was good to pick up the book Team Human by Douglas Rushkoff, because it turns out that Rushkoff has been writing about these matters and the impact of high tech on our society for a long time. This book, Team Human, is not Rushkoff's newest. It came out in 2021, but Rushkoff is one of those people who is typically 10 years ahead of his time, so we're not too late at the party. He's clear from his very first words in the book that what we're experiencing is real. Not only real, but deliberate policy. Let's read from the opening chapter here, shall we? Quote, "Everyone is asking how we got here, as if this were a random slide toward collective incoherence and disempowerment. It is not. There's a reason for our current predicament. An anti-human agenda embedded in our technology, our markets, our major cultural institutions. It has turned them from forces for human connection and expression into ones of isolation and repression." And this. "Engineers at our leading tech firms and universities tend to see human beings as the problem and technology as the solution. When they're not developing interfaces to control us, they're building intelligences to replace us. They are deployed in concert with demands of a marketplace, political sphere, and power structure that depend on human isolation. It's time we reassert the human agenda, and we must do so together, not as the individual players we've been led to imagine ourselves to be, but as the team we actually are, Team Human." Well, you can't get any more clear of a credo of humanism than that, and Rushkoff in Team Human goes on to expand his argument in the 100 short little essays that make up the book. Now, Rushkoff has a lot to say, but I'd like to focus on one metaphor he has that's a very powerful way of conceptualizing what is happening to us. And the image that Rushkoff conjures up for us is a very particular instance of a well-known optical illusion. You may have seen it in a riddle book when you were a kid, as I did. It's this figure-ground reversal. If you focus on the middle of the image, you see a white vase with what appears to be a black background. But if you look at what appears to be the black background to the vase, you soon see the black area pop out as two black faces in profile with a white background. So your mind can switch from the vase to the faces. What was figure and what was ground reverses itself. And it's a beautiful metaphor for what's happening to us. In so many areas, what was meant to be the figure has swapped places with the ground. As Rushkoff says, quote, "Once an idea or an institution gains enough influence, it changes the landscape. Instead of the invention serving the people in some way, people spend time and resources serving it. The original subject becomes the new object. The figure becomes the ground." Well, Rushkoff is right, and we see this reversal easily in healthcare. Tests are created to diagnose illness, but now the figure and ground are reversed. Illness is whatever a test can measure. If the test doesn't measure it, then we are supposedly fine, even though we may drop dead the next day. In economics, too, I'm reminded of Marx's formulation in Das Kapital of the relationship of commodities to money. Now, pre-capitalism, Marx says, commodities were sold to make money to buy other commodities with which one could live one's life. But under capitalism, the relationship of commodities to money is swapped. The capitalist starts with money to buy commodities, that is, labor, power, and raw materials, in order to turn them into yet greater quantities of money. So the purpose of money has changed from something that allows us to pursue a better life into an end in itself, hoarded by the few. Or let's look at what's happening to this very radio station. Fundraising and premiums are brought in to help the station's mission of progressive programming continue. But then the fundraising becomes the figure and starts driving the programming, destroying the original station mission in the process. As the American major in Vietnam said, "We had to destroy the village in order to save it." And a while back, a quote that was supposedly on Albert Einstein's office door made the rounds. It said that not everything that counts can be counted, and not everything that can be counted counts. Tech makes us forget this important truth. Well, Rushkoff's book, Team Human, is full of important insight, but the book, unfortunately, falls down in the last quarter, where it purports to give answers to reversing the trends we see. And in a way, it's strange, but Rushkoff falls victim to the very problem he's been describing, the swapping of figure and ground. Let me explain. The last part of the book prescribes how to save ourselves from the debilitating dynamic it has been describing. And for sure, the anxious reader is thinking at this point, okay, what do I do? How do we solve this? But all of Rushkoff's suggestions are on the order of, quote, we need unifying values in order to work as a team towards mutually beneficial goals. And, quote, we shouldn't close the stock markets but retool them to distribute capital to businesses that need it. And our new renaissance must retrieve whatever helps us reconnect to people and places. And at this point, Douglas Rushkoff, I just want to scream, great, Douglas, but how does that happen in this world? And I feel like he missed the turnoff on the highway. He missed the point of his own book, that figure and ground can be reversed, and that's what has happened here. Rushkoff has wonderful ideas and wishes, but thoughts like Team Human do not magically turn into reality. He's turned the central figure of capitalism into the ground, so much so that he's forgotten about it. We're not starting from a blank slate here, but a world embedded in capitalism. Utopian wishes and thoughts cannot be realized for long as worldwide capitalism exists. Co-ops will be forced to exploit others as they compete in the worldwide capitalist market. Unions will be bought off and strikers shot. Mutual aid will be punished. Capitalism is not going to let this happen without a fight. So, although the fight against capitalism has failed many times, it would behoove the author to at least do a rundown of what has been learned by those movements and people who have, at least for a time, gone up against and achieved some alternative to capitalism. I know. I want answers now. And it's not clear that anyone has them. But still, there is a lot to learn from this book, so hats off to Douglas Rushkoff and Team Human. It is full of ideas that you can cheer or rail against, and maybe provide the reader a new way of looking at the world. This is Jack Shalom for Arts Express with host Prairie Miller.
out now on Arts Express with Glazergate. Broe on the Global Film Beat deciphering what exactly went down at the controversial Oscar speech by the award-winning director Jonathan Glazer for his Holocaust drama, The Zone of Interest, and the subsequent over 1,000 signatures in a letter protesting his acceptance speech for questioning the slaughter in Gaza. But perhaps most disturbing, over 1,000 genocidal maniacs controlling Hollywood.
And the Oscar goes to The Zone of Interest.
This is the third nomination for the United Kingdom. The Zone of Interest is the 9th non-English language film to be nominated for both International Feature Film and Best Picture in the same year.
Thank you so much. I'm going to read, I'm afraid. Thank you to the Academy for this honor, and to our partners A24, Film 4 Access, and the Polish Film Institute, to the Auschwitz-Birkenau State Museum for their trust and guidance, to my producers, actors, collaborators. All our choices were made to reflect and confront us in the present, not to say, look what they did then, rather look what we do now. Our film shows where dehumanization leads at its worst. It shaped all of our past and present. Right now, we stand here as men who refute their Jewishness and the Holocaust being hijacked by an occupation which has led to conflict for so many innocent people. Whether the victims of October the 7th in Israel, or the ongoing attack on Gaza, all are victims of this dehumanization. How do we resist? Alexandra Bistron Kaladziejczak, the girl who glows in the film as she did in life, chose to. I dedicate this to her memory and her resistance. Thank you.
This is Broe on the Global Film Beat, Breaking Glass. Today's episode, Glazergate, the Director's Challenge and the Zionist Riposte. Jonathan Glazer, the Academy Award and BAFTA-winning director of Zone of Interest, a film that highlights, as he says, dehumanization, as practiced outside the Nazi death camp of Auschwitz, where the carnage only appears on the off-screen soundtrack, has come under attack, not for anything in the film, but for daring to insinuate in his Academy acceptance speech that there is an echo of the film in the dehumanizing way the genocide in Gaza is being routinely fostered, facilitated, and ignored in the West. Glazer's film is about the callousness of the family of the German commandant of the death camp, whose job it is to oversee extermination. The film's perspective, in some ways all the more chilling, is that of an intimate glimpse of the family as it goes about its daily activities, surrounded by off-screen cries, screams, and orders to shoot and drown the victims just beyond the family garden, as the commandant's wife makes the claim that in their privilege, with lush vegetation and swimming pool guaranteed by Jewish slavery, they have fulfilled the Führer's dream of a living space in the East for Germans. The most incendiary part of Glazer's speech is not the claim about his Jewishness not being hijacked by the Israeli occupation of Gaza, which is what his now over 1,000 Hollywood critics have focused on in a letter denouncing the speech, but rather that he had the audacity to state that his film is not just about the past, but also about the present. The parallel, then, in the present, would be in the West with those who watch this new Holocaust, for that is what it is being called in the Arab world, being live-streamed, and not just ignore it, but actively refute that it is happening, by suggesting that it is not, look what we did then, but look what we do now. Glazer is in fact placing American and Western complacence, and in some cases active cheering on of the genocide in Gaza, in line with the commandant and his privileged family in the film. In this case, benefiting from the carnage, as Israel remains the key to American dominance of Middle Eastern oil necessary for fueling its allies in Europe and proving the U.S. and its puppet Israel remains the hegemon in the region. The attack on Glazer gives credence to this identification of the West as situating itself just outside of what has been called the concentration camp of Gaza. His attackers simply cannot stand and let stand the accusation that they are complicit in genocide. Instead, they resort to Zionist arguments and talking points to refute his accusation, speaking of an Israeli nation that seeks to avert its own extermination, and indigenous Jewish people defending a homeland, and a distortion of history. The extermination is not being carried out by the Palestinians, but by the Zionists, against the actual indigenous people of the region who 75 years ago saw their homeland usurped by the creation of the apartheid state. Perhaps a new homeland, but also, as members of the U.S. military have often described it, an American aircraft carrier in the Middle East. Each day, we, in our privileged position outside the camp in the garden where life goes on as usual, hear the sounds and watch as the terror increases. Now at the point, with way more than the official number of 30,000 Palestinians dead, and with Al Jazeera reporting that 25,000 of them are women and children, Israel is worried that gunshots are too noisy and might disturb us in our gardens. So now they've decided on the more humane method of starvation, though they are not above mowing down Palestinians who, when one of the few aid trucks gets through, clamor for the food. If any voices are raised to challenge this carnage, as Glazer's was, the attempt is to quickly silence them so we can all go back to our finely manicured front lawns and backyards as we join Commandant Rolf, his wife, and their children at the pool. This is Broe on the Global Film Beat, Breaking Glass.
And that's all we have time for today on Arts Express, expression in the arts. And if you'd like to express yourself too, you can write to us at theradiogoddess@gmail.com. Until next time, this is Prairie Miller leaving the station.